Good morning. This is the council update from Monday's council. What date was that? June 8th already. So the first thing we did was just had a couple of hearings. The first public hearing was just some housekeeping items on one of our bylaws, and all it was just updating old verbiage into new verbiage. The second one, public hearing, was the group that's doing some of the Spitzy Crossing development. They've got some ideas as to making some adjustments to a few of their zoning areas out there. There was a lot of interesting information that the developers, planners brought to us, as well as our planning department. I know council's going to have a lot of questions about doing this because right now we have an enormous amount of different zoning areas. We've got a different zoning area for almost every building in town. Just, you build a new zone to make it fit something. It gets to be very messy. If we're doing another stage of this, it's going to get worse. So I think we need to take the whole thing and review it and condense it into today's reality. What are we? What are these areas? And let's not start making new zoning just because you're a new area. Let's fit this all in so that it's makes sense across town. Everybody knows what an R1 is and an R2, and whether medium density, low density, high density. What is it? So for myself, it's getting a little bit too confusing. Not a little bit, it's getting a lot confusing, if that makes any sense, proper grammar. Sorry, Mrs. Dick. So that'll be coming back we gave it first reading and then public hearing, and then we'll be having second, third reading in a couple of weeks here, so there'll be a lot more discussion coming in on that. 3 delegations. First one was from Alberta Health Services in regards to EMS events and response times. Don Allen and Nick Thane came by and gave us an excellent presentation as to how things are going with the EMS service and how EMS service is shared throughout the foothills. And I like to hear what their concerns are with it. And a big one that was talked about is we've got paramedics waiting in the emergency rooms because there's not enough staff in the hospitals to take the patients on at that point in time. Those ambulances should be out on the street and doing their jobs, not sitting around in hospitals waiting for staff. It's not the staff at the hospital's fault at all. This is something that has needed to be addressed by the provincial government for eons. This isn't new. It's just got to get dealt with, and hopefully our new government are the ones in power that'll take this on and actually make some changes with this. So the second one, Community Wellness Challenge. We got to thank a lot of the donors that helped us out to get this going. There was 200 plus teams this year in the Community Wellness Challenge. Primary Care Network was a sponsor. Udo at Flies Etc. Big sponsor, in the Canadian Red Cross were the other ones. The winners this year were the Fit Mitts. Darlene Goodwin, Jim Goodwin, Ron Schmidt, and Carla Schmidt won the Community Wellness Challenge. So very well done. It wouldn't surprise me if Ron won this thing hands down by himself. Sorry, Jim and Darlene and Carla, but the amount I see that man working out in his yard over at the barber shop there is absolutely enormous, and he deserves to take the trophy on his own, but I'm sure the other ones pitched in too. So Community Donations Advisory Committee, this was an interesting one because this was the committee that we formed to handle all the Harbour flood relief fund donations, 1.3 million, whatever it was. They're winding down. We're down to a little bit of money. There's some money coming back from the NGOs that wasn't used, so they're giving it back, and what to do with that money. They'll figure out what to do with it. They were looking for direction from council as to where we head from here with them. My personal opinion, and I know it's shared with a few other councillors, is that once that money's gone, so too will CDAC committee. I don't think it's fair that we continue to ask for flood relief donations. We're past that. There's other communities around the world and other communities in Alberta and other communities in Canada that could better use these funds and where those dollars should be donated. And I know with a couple of the other foundations that have helped out with High River, they had some money left over, and they've spoken to myself and others, and I support them in reallocating that money to those that are in much dire need than what we are. High River has been treated exceptionally well by donors. I can't say enough, and I can't thank everybody enough for donating money to High River. We would not be where we are today, which within 2 years, I don't think anybody's going to argue that our recover has been nothing short of exceptional. So it's because of volunteers, it's because of NGOs, it's because of the government help, it's because of our own residents and how fast and we care about this town, and we've made it happen. So congratulations, we're moving on. It's a new day, so thank you. Adoption of minutes, that was pretty standard. Fortis Alberta franchise agreement. This, I spoke to it in a previous video. We just gave it second and third readings to make sure that agreement gets signed. Land use redesignation. This is a secondary suite up at 1608 Sunshine Place Southeast. So we gave it first reading, and we'll be moving into a public hearing later on. The secondary suite issue is a huge issue, and I'll be very honest. I don't know why it's taken us so long to get a policy. We stopped doing these second readings or these secondary suite applications till we got our new bylaw in place, but that has yet to be presented to council. So that's been pretty much a year now. Shouldn't be taking that long. I know we've had other more important priorities, of course, but this one's got to get brought to council because we can't start piecemealing these things together again in the middle of all this. So there's my rant. Borrowing bylaw. This was a bylaw, and I'll speak to it right now because everybody knows, if you're on Facebook and social media, that we have entered into an agreement with CP Rail. We are purchasing all of the CP Rail lines from the lands from the northern boundary of town to the southern boundary of town, and everything in between. The town of High River will now own. This is extremely important. The dollar figure is $1.8 million. It's 32 acres, so it's extremely cheap land at $52,600 an acre. It can be used for so many things. Primarily, the most important one is Center Street Bridge. When we redesign that, we now have more land to use to design that thing properly. Fixing the roundabout on 12th Avenue. Everybody knows there's a lane missing on the west side of that thing. So doing those things now, we can fix that. Obviously the biggest one, this has always been part of our parking strategy with the downtown redesign, and we'll be putting plans in place as to how that's all going to look. We're not just going to roll in and pave it and cheap out on it. We're setting the bar in this town as to doing things in a great way, and so we're going to put a proper plan in place as to how that parking lot looks. It doesn't have to be just an asphalt jungle. So there'll be more parking in this town than has ever existed before. So those of you that are concerned about parking and everything else, we're dealing with it, and it'll be better than ever. Okay, the next one dealt with an on-site security waiver request. This is going to get to be interesting because it's something that I think we need to deal with properly in this town. There's two things when you do a development. You own a piece of property. There's off-site services, which are town-owned services. They're out in the street, water, sewer. That your development has to tie into. So those are off-site services on your own site, on your own property. Those are called on-site services. Off-site services, they have to put a deposit down and security with the town of High River of 100% of those off-site costs to make sure that the developer ties into those things properly. the town will own that stuff at the end of the development. So I totally agree with at least 100. I would probably prefer to see 125% on those off-site costs. Where the issue comes into play is the on-site. And these are the on-site infrastructure, underground infrastructure costs, not even underground, just surface costs, landscaping, those kinds of things. Right now the town is asking for 40% of that whole on-site costs. 40% letter of credit on those. That affects the borrowing power of the development itself. The theory is that the 40%, if the developer screws it up, then the town can come in and fix it. It's a great theory, but it's not reality, and it doesn't help development. It doesn't help that person do the proper thing. These are my own opinions. There's more that council will talk about. There's differing thoughts on this. What I'm saying is, in my opinion, the theory is great. Reality, it's not working. You're taking money away from that development. If we'd have freed that money up with the development, they'd have probably fixed it just fine. We need a hammer to hold to make sure that developer does do things properly. I know the city of Calgary, I like what they're doing, which is withholding occupancy until everything's taken care of. That being said, that can be very difficult sometimes, because if it's a private business and you're building a building on there and you want to get going, you might not have your landscaping 100% completed when you want to open the doors so that you can start paying for that piece of land. So it's a bit of a complicated issue, but I think there's other options that staff are going to be bringing back to us to get this dealt with properly. I'm not going to say a lot about it. So what happened with this motion is that at the current time, the town of High River is not taking this 40% for on-site. That's going to come back to the next meeting and get dealt with, because I don't think we can quite go to just get rid of it right now. There's got to be a proper plan in place. I get the theory on the 40%. I do not see it working, so we have to adjust things a little bit better. So there'll be more. Staff is coming to a report. Other communities around us, there's 1,000 different ways to do this. So it's great to look at the other communities, but I think we can design our own and make sure that we do something that makes sense for High River, and we don't need to be copying everybody else unless it actually works. If it does actually work, then I got no problem copying it. But I could go on forever. Direct control application for a proposed walk-up ice cream parlor. That was for the Narrow Road home that's across the street from Spitzy School. So a lot of discussion around this one and having an ice cream parlor in there. And everybody knows the gong show that it is with traffic in front of Spitzy School during school hours. Parents dropping off, picking kids up. It's actually an issue that I think we need to get dealt with the RCMP and speed limits, etc., because I'm surprised there isn't more wrecks with the kids along there with the amount of traffic going through. Therefore, with this ice cream parlor, we were concerned about the traffic impacts having an ice cream parlor there. So a couple of things that we did. Number one, we made it so that we're going to permit the ice cream parlor, but you can only be an ice cream parlor. You can't expand it into serving burgers and everything else. It's only an ice cream parlor. The second one is that they cannot operate during school hours. That will alleviate the traffic concerns, because by 3:30 all the kids are gone home and it's clear. So most of what they're going to be doing is serving walk-up traffic and the soccer games that are across the street in the evenings in Spitzy and during the summer months. I think it's a great thing. I think it's kind of a cool thing that it's mixed into an area like that too. I think it's a really neat part of the Narrow Road Home project. So that one was approved with the amendments in regards to ice cream stand only and hours of operation. So capital budget amendment. This was just a budget amendment for the borrowing of $1.8 million for the CP rail lands. Canada 150 grant, that was this is a grant application. It's up to $500,000 matching grant. We have to put in $500,000. Staff gave us a proposal that this would be $1 million at the end of the day that we can put into our Happy Trails program and increase the connectivity in this town, which walkability, everything else, it's a huge asset that High River has, and we have to build on what previous council and administrations have done, which is an absolute excellent job of putting this plan together. So let's just continue to build on it. This is a real opportunity for us to get $500,000 of grant money and be able to expand on that. So water update, this was just an emergency management update so that we know that if there would be a flood event this year of any kind, high water event of any kind, that all of our infrastructure is protected, and that all our monitoring systems are in play and being monitored daily as to where the river's at. So right now we're obviously looking very good, but you never know if a massive rainstorm comes along, it can affect us. So we're protected better than we ever have before. It would take an event of beyond astronomical proportions, pretty much double what it was in 2013, to have an effect like it did to us again. So I'm extremely confident in our protection measures. Of course, we've got things to finish in the southwest area and the Centre Street Bridge. It's an ongoing discussion and we'll deal with that. But at this point in time, we're very well protected, and not a lot of worries for 2015 anyway. So community celebration update. This is on June 20th, next Saturday. Starts at 11 o'clock, goes to 4 o'clock. There's a free barbecue. There's live music all day in George Lane Park, and there'll be a few speeches just to get it going, blah, blah, blah. And then we'll get into the party, which is most important, and it's most important. This is a community celebration day, and it will continue to be that for the years to come. I think that's one thing that the disaster brought us, was tighter together, and we don't want to lose that. So we want to continue to have these community events. So that'll be a lot of fun. Everything else, pretty simple. Done. Talk to you in a couple weeks. Bye-bye.